a little deeper, she shared a kind of a, what do you call it? A graphic of like of what it's like with COVID-19 and the way that people can react, and this whole idea of being in a growth zone or a learning zone or a comfort zone or a fear zone. And I think she made this comment. She said, I think we're all in one of those spaces at one time. And then it's, can we realize where we are and then understand what we need? And I think that's the point of the training, you know what I mean? To get into the growth zone and then move out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's to continue to celebrate too. I mean, I think that's why the collaboration is high. You know, a point that was made in one of the meetings earlier today is, you know, I'll put on my agent hat for a second. Like right now as an agent, I look around and I see all these people going under contract, taking listings and that sort of thing. And that's great. And truth be told, our activity's down from our agent business. And that can be kind of deflating. And that goes into kind of what we talked about is a lot of the business that you're seeing go under contract now is from what was being done the first 30, 60 days of the year.
Yeah.
Right. And those clients just still happen to be going forward. So it's important to recognize the reality of the situation is, yes, activity's down. We're not going to sugarcoat it, right? We're not a bunch of Pollyannas are going to be like, everything will be fine. Right. But you still have to do the activities today that are going to continue to get it to show up down the road and not get discouraged just because they're not happening now. It's the same thing we dealt with 30 to 60 days ago. We just have this whole looming virus over us that makes it obviously a little more stressful, but it's the same. Tiffany made a good point yesterday. It's like we have to do the same things now that we had to do back in January. But now it's like, since we're not doing them, we're blaming it on the virus when it's like, no, I mean, this is just a new norm now. Yep. So we've got to keep going and recognize the fact that there's this stress, this unknown of the stress that comes in.
Yeah. And that activity sometimes looks different. Like we were talking about growth and recruiting, like what just for myself. And it's like, wow, that activity actually does not look the same it did 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. Right. It looks very different. Right. And I think that's true in a lot of the activities, in a lot of the roles that every industry is kind of forced into evaluating right now, because it's different. You know what I mean? It's right. an interesting concept. And the last point I wanted to make, I heard on a call, they said, think of it as having running in place and with a resistance band around your waist, right? And you're running, but you're going absolutely nowhere until in 60, 90 days or maybe 6 months, who knows, right? That resistance band is going to get taken off of us and you're going to go shooting down right out of the cannon, right down the street. You know what I mean? Because you've been actually moving and you've been doing what you're supposed to do. And I think that's a really, really, it's a very difficult thing to do. I get it. And it's a really important thing to do as well.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
That was good. Well, so the next thing, so before we move on to what we're all really here to listen to, Vince, I know you wanted to share, we're kind of looking at, we take in every Friday as what did we do last week that we can improve on for the next week. And so as a leadership team, we've been talking about ways we've been pouring in internal and how we can grow this conversation a little bit bigger. And so Vince, how about you share what's kind of happening starting next week on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So we've again, back to that whole concept of being able to move a brokerage from a physical location into the Ethernet or wherever we are, right? And continuing to bring massive value from the standpoint of collaboration and environment. I've realized that, yeah, we've done that, and that collaboration has been internal, fully internal. And imagine if we were able to get voices from other top agents out external and hear about like kind of what they're doing and what they're struggling with, and then maybe either share what we're also struggling with or help them. You know what I mean? And I think that the help can go both ways here. So what we're going to start to do every Wednesday at 1 p.m., FYI, just one more thing for us. Every Wednesday at 1 p.m., our intention is we've called it, and I did not come up with the name, the amazing Tiffany Davis did, the Reinvent Real Estate Collaborative. Every Wednesday at 1 p.m., it will be a high-level conversation led by Joseph and myself, and we'll probably get other people as well, to essentially almost repackage the conversation that's been having from a shift standpoint, and the shift pivot group, or the pivot shift ahead group on Facebook. So we will talk a lot about the tactics in this book and in the MREA. However, our intention is also to kind of collaborate with agents from other companies and give a safe platform where people can get better, reinvent our roles, ourselves. For those of you that have seen the Simon Sinek video that I posted, the idea of how do we all come together and collaborate, get better. I believe in collaboration over competition at a really, really high level. And how do we take that not just from internal, but allow for people from an inclusivity standpoint from external to be a part of it? And this is one of the ways that we're going to start to do it. So pay attention, watch social media outlets, and watch your email for the links and all that good stuff.
Invite your friends.
And what?
Invite people.
And invite. Oh, I forgot. And invite your friends, right? This is something that you can literally, people that you know that might be struggling or that are succeeding at a really high level right now, invite them into this group, and let's see how big we can make it and how cool and collaborative and kind of successful we can make this awesomely safe environment. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. So the Reinvent Real Estate Collaborative is getting launched, and I'm excited about it. The leadership team is excited about it. I hope you will be too once you see what it's all about.
All right, well, that is all I have for housekeeping. So I'm gonna pass it over to you, Joseph, so you can tell us all the fun stuff.
Yeah, so we want to take this time now to update everyone on what's going on with the CARES Act and kind of what we're seeing on how this will apply to everyone in here. So first of all, I will say that to term this situation as fluid is probably going to be the most overused term over the next couple of weeks as we see this roll out. So basically what we're doing on this end is trying to stay on the forefront of what the heck is going on, like what the plans are, and then how can we take advantage of them. So right now, to keep it simple, I want to divide it into 3 areas that where we have opportunities from the government. The 3 areas are going to be cash, tax incentives, and then grants and loans. Okay, so start with the first one, cash. As most of you know, with the stimulus package, anybody as an individual who made less than $75,000 in 2018, or a couple that's made less than $150,000, they're going to get the $1,200. That's either going to be direct deposited into your account if when you filed your taxes, you gave them your account information, and if not, then that will be mailed to you. It is based on, it's my understanding, and again, I'm going to caveat all this on it's my understanding, and as we hear changes, we'll update you. It's my understanding it is based on 2018 numbers, simply because they don't have enough people that have filed in 2019. And just so Tiffany and Kristen know, I can see y'all smiling, so it's clearly something funny is happening between the two of you. So that's where we are from the cash standpoint. The second part is going to be from the tax incentive side of things. So as most of you know, tax date has been pushed. They're not really implementing any penalties for not paying your taxes on time. They're not really calling for taxes to be paid right now. Right now, it's just been pushed. We'll keep updating as we have on that. Additional things that will be coming from that will be what they're doing as far as advantages for mortgage forbearance. In some situations, depending on income level, that could be your entire mortgage payment can be deferred. In some, it's just the interest that's deferred. So we've got to get more details on that, but that's kind of what has come out from that. In addition to that, the research.
Quick question there.
Yeah.
One point there. I think some of it has to do with the servicing company as well in the mortgage forbearance, right? So there's going to be some not necessarily wiggle room, but there's going to be some confusion there in like what your servicing company is doing, because I heard some interesting stories about what direction people are going. So that is probably also going to be fluid.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it all is. The big one that's going to be too is like right now there are discussions, and it hasn't been finalized to my knowledge, of having tax-free withdrawals from retirement accounts. So these could be an option too for those of us that do have money in retirement where we could pull it out and not be penalized. The thing I want to say about all of these, and including what we're going to talk about, which I think is what most of you are wanting to hear about with the loan and grants, is there is fine print with all of them, right? So there is no free money without some sort of stipulations and qualifications that you have to meet. So for instance, in the tax, getting money out of retirement for tax-free, there's also a time frame that they want that money to go back in. And so we've just got to keep, our goal is to keep as much of that information in front of us as possible. Last part, the big part would be the loans and grants. Okay, so there are basically two options right now for us as small businesses and independent contractors. The one that applies to all of us that you can go ahead and get on now is what's called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. Okay, Tiffany's going to post the link to that. You can go online now and apply for that. It is a business loan that can actually loan up to $2 million with the ability to actually do a $10,000 advance grant within 3 business days. Now there are stipulations for what that money can be used. And those are the things that you really need to research, because this isn't necessarily money that just because we're independent contractors, we can then go use to pay our mortgage payments. So you have to do sharp accounting of what this is. And the majority of it, because it's for small businesses, are going to be things like rent, utilities, any debt that you have for your business, and then services for your business. So you just have to keep that in mind, because if you don't follow those guidelines, what was a grant then becomes a loan. Okay, so it's not, you may then have to owe that back. Again, I'm not trying to be vague on them. I just, had a 30-minute long conversation with our banker this morning. They're still trying to get the details, all of that. Thank you, Camille. I'll be sure to say that. So that's the EIDL. Everyone can go do that now, and I would encourage you to do so. You don't have to necessarily take it if you get approved for it. But I would say, as they've been saying that, the money there's only so much money out there. I would say if it's something you feel that you're going to need, go ahead and go apply for that now. And Tiffany put that in the comments. The second one, which is the one that's causing the most confusion, is what the PPP, the payroll protection plan. There are 2 times that this can be applied for, or when application will be open. The first is today, and that is open for small businesses or nonprofits with fewer than 500 employees. If you fall into that category, then you would go and apply for that today. The Market Center is applying for that. And it is based on, this is the question that really comes up, is that based on the Market Center employees, and can we count the real estate agents' income that we've paid out? There's very mixed reviews or mixed feedback on this. It's erring more towards the side, though, that it does not include agents' commissions, because agents as independent contractors for our company are considered service providers. So there's 2 reasons that when we apply for that, that we are not going to be using the agent's income for that. The first one is, we're not sure. Actually, there's 3. First one is we're not sure that will actually qualify in there. So we're going to use our actual payroll for the W-2 and employees that we have. The second thing is there's no way to then monitor how that money is given out amongst the agents, because we're capped on how much each agent can get, and it's based on 2019. So we would really have a hard time to regulate that. Number 3 is most of the agents, or you, if you then go apply for it for yourself, which is the next date, which is April 10th, then it's double dipping in that, and it can flag one of us one way or the other. So it's to keep it separate on those. So here's how it works. So April 3rd, which is today, the small businesses can go apply for it. April 10th is when 1099 contractors can go apply for it. And that's what you would go apply. And in what they're saying is you request the loan is up to 2.5 times the average monthly payroll from 2019. Okay, so if your average monthly payroll was $10,000 a month that was being paid out, then the loan that you would get would be $25,000. Okay, so what the reasoning behind that is it's because they're looking at 2 months worth of payroll, and then the additional 0.5% is to target utilities, rent, and anything that you have. Again, there's fine print on this. It's pretty easy fine print. First thing is if you maintain from the moment that you applied for the loan, start that day, moving 8 weeks forward, not to go past December 31st, as long as you maintain paying 75% of your payroll and you keep the same amount of employees, which won't apply to most of you, it'll just be the payroll. But if you do have employees, if you keep both of those, then it will be fully forgiven. So it's basically a loan that's given to you and then can be forgiven. Now, again, you will be very fine-tooth comb on how this money is deferred. So you want to be careful that if you're taking this income, that it's then not just going to pay for what could be considered luxuries. They're going to have to be utilities, rent, and things to run your business. You just have to make sure. And we'll get more details on that. Again, this is the banks. My understanding, the banks were given their regulations after hours last night on how to underwrite these loans. So this is kind of how fluid this is going. So that's where we are on these. Like I said, we've applied for both of them as a market center. I know some agents have already applied. The one that the EIDL one is, it takes maybe 10 minutes to apply. And then basically at that point, they're supposed to get back in touch with you. I've heard it's within 48 hours. I haven't gotten confirmation on that yet.
And the EIDL one is the one with the $10,000 grant consideration.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the good news.
And you mentioned,
Wendy, I think if you're,
go ahead.
Sorry, Wendy, if you're,
Sorry,
we had a couple questions.
I thought the EIDL, that $10,000 was just like quick money in the bank, but it was still considered a loan. Is that not correct?
That's the clarification that we need on there. I think the 10,000 is considered a loan, and then anything additional can be considered a grant with the same qualifications as the PPP. It has to go to certain things. The other thing that changed is the percentage that would be on the loan. Originally, it was said that it would be 4%. Now it's being said it's going to be 1%. That's still kind of up in the air, and quite honestly, that's going to hard to get banks to be motivated to be giving that money. So we just kind of have to get some clarification on that.
And Michael had one too.
Yes, sir.
As far as the today, April 1st, and then you said for independent contractors, it was next week. The one for today, as long as you have an EIN, you're good, correct?
Well, the one for today is going to be, well, you can, because you would be considered a small business. So if you're just doing it as an independent contractor, then yeah, you would not do it until the 10th.
Good.
But you can still apply for the EIDL today immediately, no matter who you are. It's the PPP.
Correct. That was actually, yeah. Yeah, that's actually something that's been in effect. This was not, the EIDL actually did not come from COVID. This was something that the SB had prior to this.
So am I allowed to go and, buy like a $300,000 car with this money and get it forgiven? Use it as transportation?
Yeah, that's actually what they're encouraging you to do, is do that, specifically that. Yeah, go spend it on a car and it'll be good.
Okay.
Perfect. Just to be clear, the answer to that is no.
We are recording this. It's not true.
I'll mute myself now. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. What else?
I'll ask you a quick question. Oh, go ahead, Wayne.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've done extensive research on this, and we're in the process of putting the PPP application in right now. I've gotten a bunch of good help from sources. Low Country Local First has sent out a really good source. If anybody would like some links and some sources, just ask and I'll be happy to shoot it out.
Can you give those to Tiffany so that then she could maybe send those out to everybody?
Yeah, for sure.
Good idea.
Okay.
Thanks, Wendy.
Awesome.
Wayne,
The analogy
later.
Sorry, go ahead.
Wayne, I think Wayne was.
Apply sooner than later. Most of my family is up in Jersey. My son has a business. And, they were able to apply this morning for that $10,000 grant and stuff like that. By 11 o'clock this morning, the funds were gone.
Wow. For the EIDL?
programs up there for small businesses because he has a business up there. So
Okay, so specific to that area.
Mhm.
Okay.
hit a lot harder. So,
Okay.
you know, the next few days when these programs come about, like for us on April 10th, do it first thing in the morning.
Right.
Joseph, I'll ask you a question in that.
Okay.
Understanding kind of what you've read and knowing what you've done for both your real estate business and then what we've done from a market center standpoint with the assistance and the kind of the resources available to us, what would you and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but what would you not advise, but what would you do? What would you kind of advise people to pay attention to and do?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I'd get everything ready to apply for a loan, right? Because we don't know my banker this morning he said basically what happened is the government called and said the Daytona 500 is starting today, right now, go. Green flags dropped, boogity, 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 but none of us have any cars. So that's kind of what's happening right now is there's this huge sense of urgency, but we don't have the vehicle to get to it yet. However, we all know that there's going to be an underwriting process. There's going to be requirements. They're going to want to know what your situation is. So for instance, like as a market center, we're on the list to hit the application when we can. So what we've done is we've basically gotten 3 years worth of tax record, 3 years of income taxes, our P&L year to date, what we have from last year, all of the things that we already know. So I'd say go ahead and get that if it's something, and apply early. Going back to what Wayne said, again, like any loan, if you don't use it, then just don't use it and pay it back, right? I mean, at least have it as a safety net, or you don't have to take it should we find anything's going wrong, or everything's not going as badly as we found or thought. The other thing would be is still go back to the conversation of cutting expenses. This is a big one. I mean, since the conversation's gotten financial, everything counts. I personally would go as we did this. We reported our credit card stolen because that way we knew that all automatic withdrawals would have to call us to get set back up. I'm not saying it's the most organized way to do it. However, we know right now with all of that, we're going to find out who's getting automatically withdrawn. And that's our checklist right now, because just going through, you're going to miss it. You're going to do that. That's just what we did. So our new credit card comes in, and now our checklist is when all the vendors call and say, hey, we need new credit card information. That's going to be our trigger for Lynn and I to say, is that something we really need to continue to do?
Yeah,
everything counts right now.
Everything
counts right now.
The subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no, not Fuji though, Greg. But I love Fuji. But anyway, all those subscriptions add up big time.
Yeah.
Right. The small $10, $5, $15, $20 subscription here and there. And sometimes the easiest way to find that subscription is, again, shut off the card for a second and see who calls. Right. But I think that's really, really good advice from the standpoint of we have to go back, and the market center did it. We sat for two hours or something like that one night, and from 5 to 7 and went through every line item of the market center's expense for the month of March and paid attention to the yearly expenses and cut things.
Well, and I'll speak to that too. I think like even just I called everyone too. Like Comcast, they're giving me a 30-day business credit while keeping our internet on just because they know our office is closed. So there are things that people are doing to help out. And even if it's not a long-term cut, it might be a 30-day help.
Absolutely.
And we did with the landlord. I mean, from the market center standpoint, we reached out to the landlord. We've gotten a 50% rebate or a discount on May and June. It's not what we originally asked for. It's not really actually far from what we originally asked for. Now, obviously, there's stipulations to that too. I mean, the landlord is a small business. We can't, it's got to stop somewhere, right? So we can't just expect them to take the hit because we're not. So everything counts. Here's the other thing that I'll just say, and so, Lynn and I, when I stepped out of a leadership role with a salary and we went into sales together, our first year was awful, right? And so we had to have these discussions. Like, it was no joke. And I mean, we were splitting 2-ply paper towels to make the paper towels go further. And I will tell you, simply do. Some of you are thinking right now, okay, big deal, $9.99 for Netflix, all these things, canceling your credit cards. It's just a couple small things. That's kind of extreme. Here's what it absolutely will do for you. Mentally, it will get you in a better place because you're doing something. And you're going to feel good about the fact that you're making every effort that you can. You're not panicking. It's not a panicking thing. It's just a reality. You could always bring any of that back. Right? But now you just get a clean slate and you can look and you know exactly what's happening so you can be prepared and not have to have analysis paralysis.
I love that. I think that's an amazing point. I love that. Cool. Do we have anything else?
All right. Are you guys ready to wrap up?
All right.
Oh yeah,
We know
you're ready
to wrap up.
So,
I do have my announcement.
yeah.
Sorry, I just have an announcement at 1:30 today. We're doing a mastermind all around video and social media, because at that point, that's a huge opportunity that we all have to, be sure that we're capturing mind share. So I'd love to have a lot of people there that are doing it. So at 1:30, and it's on the Zoom calendar links. Thank you.
Love
Just
that.
to add something fun, we're going to start doing this every single week because we're probably going to talk about some heavy stuff. Is we're going to celebrate, and what we're going to celebrate this week is Laura Munn had a birthday last week, and Kelly Hogan is having a birthday on Wednesday, and so we're going to do what we did last week. I'm going to need everybody to unmute. I'm unmuting all of you right now. Ready? Everyone's unmuted. Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren Kelly. Happy birthday to you.
Ooh,
Many
everyone.
go on the pace.
All right. I saw Amanda's face the most. I think Amanda was the loudest. I saw her face pop up the most.
Nice. Betsy.
I love it.
Okay.
Well,
All
happy
right.
birthday to those that have birthdays. And if you need anything, as usual, reach out to the leadership. We're here for you. Rock on. We love you all. And if you need anything, call us.
All right. Bye, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.